on a prediction that if it's not there, it's close to it, war in the Middle East, which you clearly predicted more than a year ago that we're headed for war. We've got the first pieces of the 1st Armored Division in northern Jordan. We have the Hatfields in McCoy, Al-Qaeda, which is the Free Syrian Army, and Hezbollah with Assad, the Russians, the Chinese. We have the Israelis, which felt like they had to attack, not just a small little deal of attacks around Damascus, research facilities, and these 185-mile range precision missiles they're afraid of Hezbollah getting a hold of. It looks like we're headed for war, yet the mainstream media is giving this a big yawn. What say you? Where are we headed?
Well, they're giving it a big yawn, and when they do talk about it, they talk about it only in a one-dimensional aspect. So, for example, the news that's been making the news in America over the last few days is, it's a tragedy, of course, but it's not national news when, there's women that were in a wedding party, died in a car crash in California. And yes, it's a tragedy about the young women that were kidnapped and been held hostage by these sickos for a number of years. But that should not be the top news story when you have a news story evolving and unraveling, such as Israel attacking Syria. Now, there's a number of things as trend forecasters that we look at. You'll often notice, Greg, that big events happen on weekends. For example, they closed the banks in Cyprus recently. They did it on a weekend. When Obama signed the National Defense Authorization Act, he did it on New Year's Eve in 2011. And that, of course, stripped us of our 5th, 6th, and 4th Amendment rights. So they do these things when people aren't paying attention. And Israel attacked Syria over the weekend. After the markets closed, it made the news. So here was the headline when that happened. Israel's strike on Syria hit arms from Iran. And I was thinking to myself, what if the headline read, Iran's strike on Israel hit arms from U.S.? What's the difference? Oh, I know the difference. Only Israel and the United States are allowed to have arms. Iran and Syria aren't allowed to have any. And if God forbid, Hezbollah should have any. And when I say the story is one-sided, it's this one-sided fairy tale that Israel struck Syria to stop those arms from flowing into the hands of Hezbollah. And of course, when you look at the facts that start coming out, it's kind of like what happened up in Boston. The story keeps changing. Oh, you remember up in Boston, those kids robbed the 7-Eleven. Oh, no, they didn't. Oh, they were armed to the teeth. No, they weren't. They had one 9mm weapon, ostensibly, when they got caught. Oh, and that kid, when they had him in the boat, it was a face-off between the police. There were, 9,000 of them? Against this kid with a pistol. And they find out the kid was just laying there. There was no fairy tale. They hit these trucks that were just going over the Lebanon border, and they were packed with missiles. No, they didn't. They were attacking military sites in Damascus, as they did this time as well. And the reports vary, Greg, from 40 to 300 soldiers and civilians that were killed in the area around Damascus, the sites being both military installations and the most threatening installation of them all, a poultry farm. Now let's change this around a little bit. Suppose it was Tel Aviv that was bombed with such, and by the way, these weapons that the Israelis were using, of course, highly sophisticated, and under U.S. agreements, any weaponry received by Israel from the United States, paid for, of course, by the American taxpayer at a tune of over $3 billion a year, they're not supposed to be used to attack foreign countries. But be that as it may, I think they had a little bit more firepower than those pressure cookers up in Boston. But of course, this doesn't get any media, as you're pointing out, as ostensibly hundreds of people have been killed and an attack on a sovereign nation that has done nothing to threaten Israel. And before I end this, I would also like to talk about the misinformation coming out from President Obama. Of course, they always say that Israel has the right to defend itself. I want to make this really clear. So does everybody else, including me and you.
Iran said that they're going to have a crushing response. Syria, a high-ranking member, said the door is wide open. They also, a high-ranking member of the Syrian, Assad regime, said that this is an act of war. Other people are calling it an act of war. Is this going to touch off a wider regional war, if not a world war? I mean, Kerry's up talking to the Russians. They have a naval base in Tartus on the Syrian coast. I mean, this thing could spiral out of control, could it not? Or am I just being chicken little?
No, it is spiraling out of control. As I said, suppose it wasn't Damascus, it was Tel Aviv that was struck. This is a major city. This isn't some backwater town. This is a metropolitan city that was attacked. And as I was saying, the spin coming out, Obama also saying that Hezbollah has threatened to attack Tel Aviv. That's right. They said that if Israel attacked again in Lebanon. But nobody is ever supposed to strike back, neither the United States nor Israel. They're the only ones that are allowed to attack other countries. And when other countries retaliate, it's the golden rule, by the way, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Oh, they cry and scream, terrorism, terrorism. No, it's not. It's payback.
Do you think,
payback's
coming?
And that's what we're going to see more of. It's payback. Look what happened when France invaded Mali. As soon as it happened, the Malians said they were going to pay back the language. We wrote it in the Trends Journal, just as it happened. They said France was going to suffer a payback. Virtually days later, there was the Algerian hostage crisis. So when are people going to get it in their heads that you cannot attack other countries without them not attacking you?
So let's talk about the chessboard here. We're involved. The U.S., Chuck Hagel said a few weeks ago, gave Israel the green light. That's what was reported. Well, it was a pretty good report because a couple of weeks later, we had these multiple attacks on the research facilities and these missiles with reportedly 185-mile range, which to the Israelis, to their good, they're afraid of these missiles raining down on them, hitting just about every target in Israel. Lots of sin to go around. Not talking about that. Is this thing getting ready to spin out of control? I mean,
it is out of
we
control.
Have armored divisions, pieces of it in northern Jordan. We have our naval ships in the Mediterranean. Russia has their ships in the Mediterranean. This is getting to be a bit of a pressure cooker, isn't it?
It is. It is out of control already. What are people waiting for? An Archduke Ferdinand moment? That's all that is. People are waiting for the flashpoint. These things flashpoints don't happen overnight. They ignite from all of these firestorms that they keep setting off. So as you mentioned about Jordan, the United States is training these so-called Syrian rebels, these Islamist fundamentalists in Jordan. They have Patriot missile batteries on the borders of Turkey going into Syria, facing into Syria. Now you have this moron Mendez, the senator from New Jersey, talking about supplying the rebels with more armaments. And by the way, you look up who this little weasel clown is, this little piece of crap, Mendez, and what is he's caught in prostitution scandals and money changing scandals, getting kickbacks that they call political campaigns for doing dirty deals with his buddies, and now he's out there. We have to send more arms to the Syrian rebels, and we're going to vet them to... What are you talking about? And the same thing with John Insane McCain and Lindsey Graham. How could people listen to these little weasels that are screaming for war? And most Americans, by the way, they couldn't find Syria on the map if you left them, if you gave them, you know, a circle with 15 countries around it to try to target it. So they're taking us to war once again under a weapons of mass destruction kind of scenario, but this time it's, if they cross that red line of using chemical weapons on their people, then that's just too much for us. And once again, Greg, it's kidding.